Coming up, we look at the new Ford Mustang's 2-star ANCAP safety rating and ask the question, is it really unsafe? Throughout the week, Euro NCAP and Australian ANCAP released figures for the new 2015, 16 and 17 Ford Mustang in their safety ratings, and they've decided to give it 2 stars, which is weird because this car has been tested by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in America, and they gave it 5 stars overall, 5 stars in frontal crash test, 5 stars in side crash test, 5 stars in a rollover protection test. In America, the car looked quite safe. What is the difference between the American car and the Australian and Euro cars? Next to nothing. They're both nearly about as safe as each other. The difference between the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration tests and the Euro NCAP and Australian ANCAP is they're tested differently. So you're not necessarily getting a much safer car in America and a very unsafe car in Australia or Europe. The problem with the Euro NCAP safety ratings, in my opinion, for this car is that the front airbags didn't deploy as well as they should have. And with a close inspection to the dummies, the driver's head just touched the steering wheel and the passenger's head touched the dashboard. There wasn't enough filtration, the airbags weren't filled enough to stop that. Okay, so let's dive into these ANCAP safety ratings a little more than most people have. Now, I will start on the good points of this car and how well it actually did in the ANCAP safety ratings in the actual crash part of the tests. Now, these points are out of 8, by the way. The full width frontal test, 4.67 out of 8. Nearly 7 out of 8 for the front offset test. Side impact test, 8 out of 8. Pole test, nearly 7 out of 8. Now, the worst one being the full width frontal test. And that is because the car was docked because the front airbags didn't deploy as well as they should have. I reckon we may even see a recall over this, because I find it hard to believe the American one got 5 out of 5 with a not very good deploying airbag. So I think maybe there could be an airbag issue there for the later cars that obviously Euro NCAP have tested. Keeping on the good points for now, within those full width frontal tests, adult occupant protection, out of 4 points, sorry, it got 4, 4, nearly 4, 4. Frontal offset test, it got 3, nearly 4, 4, nearly 3. Again, quite good. Side impact test, 4, 4, 4, 4. Again, You can't get better than that. Poll test, 4, nearly 3, 4, and 4. So you can see this has actually done quite well here, even with a not so good deploying airbag. And the injury outcomes, even with an airbag that doesn't deploy so well, according to the injury outcomes here, they're all good and acceptable. See? Except for the rear passenger, which will bring me onto the bad points of this ANCAP test that has sent this car down the drain a little bit. Rear passenger protection is not good. In fact, poor, the very worst you can get in most parts, except for the head, marginal. So your rear passengers can live with the head, but not the rest of their body. The whiplash was not good in the rear and was just marginal in the front. Another bad point that the car was docked on is it didn't have safety assist programs. It didn't have emergency auto braking. It doesn't have seatbelt reminders for the rear passengers, lane support, speed assistance, etc. So it got docked there. And as we just talked about, child occupant protection isn't great. But then again, how many people buy a Mustang to put kids in the back of? Not many. You'll find most Mustang owners probably don't even use their back seat. Again, that's probably not good enough, and this is something Ford has to work on. So as you can see, when we dive into the crash test ratings a little more, the Mustang actually did do quite well in the crash test, minus the front airbags not deploying as well as they should have. But as I said, I reckon that'll probably be recalled, or something will probably be done about that, because I just don't see the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration giving this car a 5-star frontal crash test on a car that the airbags didn't deploy fully in that. So I reckon there could be an issue from those cars that were tested to the cars that were tested now. There's a few years in between that, so there could now be an airbag issue with that car. Don't quote me, I'm not sure. This is just my speculation here, but I wanted to make this video to reassure the owners that currently have these cars. You're not driving in a seriously unsafe car. You're driving in a car that is probably safer than 90% of the cars on the road right now. Yes, it's only rated 2 stars. Yes, it's not good enough. Yes, it needs work. There are nearly all the other brand new cars on sale right now are probably safer, particularly for rear passengers, and probably whiplash as well. Another thing that could come from this is obviously the resale values could go down a little bit, which is a bit of a kick in the pants for the people that have bought these cars, and in Europe and Australia in particular, because they've paid top dollar for them and they've waited 12 months or so for their car, or 8 months, or whatever it is, because these cars are flying out the door. And now, after they get the car, you know, it's probably going to devalue it a bit. So that's a bit of a downer there. What about for the people currently thinking about putting an order down for one of these Mustangs? I reckon probably hold off. There's obviously not too much that the current Mustang owners can do, but look, I would hold off on buying a new one and maybe wait on the 2018 Mustang. I think that will do better in the tests with its new safety features, and just waiting to see how all this airbag stuff plays out. And I think it's best to keep your money in your pocket for this second. And look, thanks for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.